welcome to another episode of Pretty Brilliant. If you're new to me, my name is Brittany Nicole. I'm a neurolinguistics analyst, and on this channel, we talk about reprogramming your mind to level up your life. So let me explain real quickly what expertise in neurolinguistics is. Neurolinguistics is the study of how language affects the nervous system. And unfortunately, while I am an expert in that, I am also an expert in betrayal. And as unfortunate as that is, that means that I can say this information not just from theoretical understanding. These are not just regurgitated psychological frameworks. This is my personal lived embodied framework that I used to develop a new relationship and understanding to trust. This is the information that I wish someone would have combined in a YouTube video when I was on the other end of the screen looking for how to trust and reintegrate into society. The first thing to look at really critically is, what is trust? What does trust mean to you? And if this is something that you have experienced in your life, you're going to have to redefine your understanding of trust. And I invite you to redefine your understanding and relationship to trust for yourself. But I'm going to offer you a definition because it's something that I have found useful for me. I do want to say, though, the way that I define trust, it's not sexy, it's not romantic, it's not even emotional, but it's clean and it's practical. And because when you are chronically betrayed or deeply betrayed, your perception is what becomes wounded. Having sort of a systematic approach, even a logical approach to being able to trust people again is a good start. To me, the cleanest definition of trust is predictability. Not, do I feel safe and cozy and warm in this person's presence? Math. Your brain and body's number one job is to keep you alive. So it loves pattern and it loves predictability. The more predictable something is, the less resources the body has to use to navigate a situation. It's kind of like having GPS to navigate your way around life. If you have GPS telling you the direction that you should go in, you really don't have to use any thought. You just follow. The main point to understand here is predictability is the mechanism that your brain, your nervous system, your body is already using to understand and interpret the world. In fact, that is why you're in the situation that you're in now, because it feels predictable. Here's a different way to explain this. If you have never experienced a relationship where you were fully intellectually understood, where you were fully emotionally met, where you were encouraged and built up, even though that sounds like a beautiful, delicious relationship that most people would want, your nervous system is going to interpret that as unfamiliar territory. And if you have baseline trauma patterns in your nervous system, unfamiliar territory is more dangerous than the devil you know. When people say the devil you know, what they mean is like, this situation might not be that good for me, but I know how it's going to play out. It's like, I'm not big on scary movies. So I will, if it's something that seems interesting, but it seems like it might be a little bit too scary for me, I'll look up like the overall plot of the movie, so I know what I'm getting myself into. So I that's what the devil you know is. It's like making the choice that's not great, but you know how it's going to play out, instead of making the choice where you don't know how it's going to play out at all. A traumatized nervous system, a hypervigilant nervous system, a nervous system that is constantly seeking safety is seeking predictability. And predictability may not always be good. This is exactly why I say you have to change your relationship with trust, because you already are trusting. You're just trusting deleterious patterns. If your question is, how do I trust again? That's the wrong question, because you're already trusting. You're trusting people that you shouldn't trust. Your question should be now, how do I retrain my perception and what can I trust people with? Developing types of trust actually gives you more specific data to look for when you're navigating your relationships. And it actually makes it a little bit easier, I find, to have types of trust so that you can interact with people on levels and not just have to be in this completely sterile bubble and not deal with anyone. So let's get into 3 different types of trust that I feel like are really critical to look for in relationships. So here's the first one. And I'm putting this as number 1 because this is the most important to me as an intellectual, as a polymath. Like, can I trust you with my thoughts is a very important question to that I have to ask myself when I'm in a relationship with somebody. In this category, what I'm looking for is, can I think out loud without there being repercussion? Can we hold tension and disagreement without you collapsing? Can you perceive my curiosity as curiosity and not attack? Do you need me to mirror your belief system in order for you to feel safe? I know that I can't trust somebody with my ideas when I say something and I can see fear read on their face. I know that I can't trust somebody with my ideas when I say something and they feel the need to debate, correct, or diminish me because my thoughts don't perfectly mirror theirs. And I don't see that as being able to trust you with my thoughts. I personally feel like if a relationship does not allow for me to have psychological autonomy, does not allow for diversity of thought, I don't consider that a safe space. I don't consider that a safe relationship. I don't consider that an interesting relationship. So it's a no for me. The next area of trust is emotions. And the question I'm asking myself is, can I trust you with my emotions? But I want to explain what I mean here. I'm not talking about, can you handle my emotions for me? What I'm saying is, can you be in the presence of my emotions without making it my job to fix your emotions? And here's why I say that specifically. I have a history of becoming the therapist in my relationships, and I have to take responsibility for that because when I first started my healing journey, and this happens with a lot of people who start their healing journey and who invest a lot in self-development and personal growth, is you start feeling this almost like survivor's guilt, I think it is, where you think that because you have learned certain things and you have developed other tools, that it is your role in life to be that for other people. That's how I conceptualized my identity until I learned about emotional labor. And I realized how taxing emotional labor was on my biology, on my identity, and that I didn't need to, or let me say this way. I realized that I was identifying as the therapist, as the space holder in my relationships because it made me feel good, because it gave me a sense of power, because it gave me a role to play where I could be in power and still receive love. But I wasn't actually receiving anything, because in those spaces where I was identifying as the therapist, I wasn't getting anything back. I was not the person who was able to be met or be understood. I was always the person who was meeting and understanding. And so now when I look at relationships and I'm trying to identify, can I trust you with my emotions? It is not because I expect the relationship to be the thing that processes my emotions for me. My emotions are my responsibility, and I see somebody who is in a relationship with me, their emotions are their responsibility. We can come together sometimes to process things or to bounce things off of one another, but you should never look at me as your emotional laundromat, and I should never look at you as my emotional laundromat. And so for me, trust in this context means I can experience my emotions, and you're not going to try to minimize it. You're not going to try to make it go away. You're not going to try to gaslight me out of having the experience of my emotions. And you're not going to make me responsible for making you comfortable with the fact that I am experiencing an emotion. Here's an example. If me and you are friends, and you need help with something one day, you call me up and you say, hey, can you help me with XYZ? And I say, actually, no, I can't. Being able to trust you with my emotions means that when I tell you no, you don't freak out. You don't take it personally and internalize it as a rejection. I am no longer available for any relationships where I have to be concerned if guilt is going to be a repercussion of me setting boundaries. To me, that means I cannot trust you with my emotions, and our relationship would have to be surface level, if that. So the third area for me is, can I trust you with my growth? And what I mean here is, if I change, if my identity becomes something that you didn't expect or that you're not familiar with, if I evolve into a different version of myself, can I trust that you are going to be able to process that change and take it either as neutral or positive? Because if you process my evolution as negative, what that fundamentally means is you would prefer me to not grow. Growth is one of my most important values. I have invested tens of thousands of dollars in my healing, in my personal development, and it's not something that I do just to heal anymore. It's what I do because I appreciate the experience of life and I want to become a master at it. So I'm looking for people who also share that perspective of like, how can I get the most out of life? How can I master my human experience? And people who are wanting to grow with me. Because I am growth oriented, someone who prefers me to not grow is fundamentally incompatible with me. And that just results in having to dim aspects of myself that are important to me to not threaten the relationship. I don't perceive that as safe. I don't perceive that as somebody that I can trust with my growth. And so that would be another relationship that's like surface level at best, if at all. I want to summarize this, and I'm going to share something a little bit personal. I do talk about my history with domestic violence in my book, Go Love Yourself. I'll leave the link in it below. But being in an abusive relationship, being in a relationship with somebody who lived in a version of reality that in their mind was so real, trained me to be able to perceive reality at such depths and with such specificity out of survival. I can see my trajectory very clearly now of trying to understand truth and trying to understand psychology and trying to understand the mind, to now being someone who studies reality mechanics and the language behind language. And I have this obsession with truth, honestly, because I had to develop that. But the reason that betrayal is so hard to recover from is because it damages your ability to perceive. It damages your ability to correctly interact with reality. And so these three questions: can I trust someone with my thoughts? Can I trust someone with my emotions? Can I trust someone with my growth? Not only are they fundamental, they give you tools to be able to rewire your perception. Your perception has been abused. Your ability to see reality clearly has been abused. So you need tools you need things to know what to look for. And now that I am on the other side, I no longer have any unhealthy relationships in my life. And I feel like I've cleaned my vision up enough to be able to say this for sure. These are the like, nobody gets to enter my life anymore without me being able to answer yes to all three of those questions. So that's it for this episode of Pretty Brilliant. I hope that this information has been useful to you. I know exactly what it feels like from your position to be trying to put your mind back together and trying to put your perception back together. So I hope that I've given you some tools to be able to do that. I'm also going to include a free audio chapter of the first chapter of my book, Go Love Yourself, in the link below. You can listen to it on my Substack, also called Pretty Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Okay, well, thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.